Hi everyone, welcome to Tom's Manshed. Okay, today's video is part one of a two-part video on installing a dashcam, a front and rear dashcam in my MG4 car. Now, I did this a couple of years ago, the same dashcam and hard wiring kit in my ZS EV. So check the link up here, the little card up here, if you want to see that. So a lot of it is similar, the way you wire it up and that, but obviously different panels to go through and no glass sunroof on this car and stuff like that. So I'm going to go into this in great detail. Now, I'm making no apologies for this video. Any of my regular subscribers will know that my videos do go on a bit. I do tend to waffle a bit and I go totally in depth into every little bit. But I think for something like this, a tutorial on how to fit your dash cam, I think the more detailed, the better. If there's any bits of the video you're getting bored with or are irrelevant for you, I will itemise the whole lot along the little red scroll bar along the bottom, so you can just skip to the bit you want, the wiring, the putting it through the roof or whatever. So like I say, it's going to be very, very, very detailed, hence the two parts. Now, I'm going to do this first part on wiring up the cameras themselves through the rubber gaiter at the hatchback lid, through the roof lining, down the A pillar at the front to the fuse box position. So all installing of the wiring and any tools needed and how to do that. And then once I've got all the wiring there at the fuse box, I'll be doing part two on just what to do there. Things like which fuses to use. It uses two different types of fuses. I'll go through all them and which ones to use, permanent life, switched life and all that. That will all be in part two. So this is just putting the actual camera wiring itself in. So the only tools you're going to need for this are something like this. You may find another way. You may be able to use a long piece of wire or whatever. I find these really, really handy. It's like a little kit of, I think there's about 10 rods in there, and each rod screws to the other, and you can thread it through a bit, thread it through a bit more, thread it through a bit more. And I've found it over the years incredibly handy. There's a flexible bit there comes with it, and with a little hole in the end. You get a little hook that you can screw onto one end to pull things through. Really, really handy bit of kit. So I'll put a link below now. I'll show you where I got it off Amazon just now. So that's the one I got, that black spur. It's just a cheap brand, but it's been great. Nothing's broken on it or anything. There'll be loads of different ones on Amazon or eBay or anywhere. They're all pretty similar, but that's the one I got 3.5 years ago now. So as well as that, the only other tool I used was, apart from a piece of stiff wire, you see that, just a piece of twin and earth cable. And normally for taking panels off cars, you'll need something like this. So all these panel removal tools, which are pretty handy, but I found the plastic ones on that particular kit, whether they're not good quality or not, I don't know, but on that particular kit, they were a bit thick to push through the side panel of the dash, which you'll be seeing. So I use this like a stud removal tool because it's very thin at the end and it's metal. An even better tool would be something maybe a bit wider and just a flat blade, like a scraper blade. But that's the only tools, and that's to get the side of the dash off. As you'll see, in their wisdom, MG have put the fuse box in a position where you've got to take panels off to get at it. It's not got its own separate lid. It's not in like a tray underneath or behind the glove box like in the ZS. No, you've got to take the side panel off, the door trim and the side panel. It's ridiculous, but that's what you've got to do. So that's what you need for that. The A pillar, which will be hiding the cable behind, is a bit awkward. I fully explained that, the clips and everything on that. But you don't need any tools whatsoever to get that off. So before further ado, let's get on with it. And at this stage, I forgot to film the very, very first bit, shoving the first 2 or 3 of these through. So we joint this now, and I'll show you how to remove the rear trim around the boot, the rear rubber, the rubber seal. And then the next shot, I think we've got about 2 or 3 of these already through into the rear passenger compartment. But it's self-evident where they go, so let's have a look at that now. Now the back door trim, when you pull it away, the drivers and the passenger doors are just normal, but this one, there's a lot of glue on it. A lot of very tacky, like impact adhesive type glue. So you can see the tube going through there. So you can see we've got our fiberglass rod through here. And right through here. And through that gap there. So that's the rod now through from the rear hatch to the rear passenger compartment. Now, I do mention in this, if you're at all worried about running in the roof near the side curtain airbags, either get a professional to install it or take it a different route down below under the carpets or something like that. But there is another guy who does a lot of these videos on dashcam installs in cars, who does it for a living, and he says running a wire near a thing shouldn't make any difference. The power of these airbags is incredible. As you know, they'll blow the plastic off the centre of a steering wheel, they'll blow the roof lining apart. So I don't think a cable at high level, particularly a slack one, because there's loads of slack play in the cable, as you'll see in this video when it's finished, is really going to get away in the way of a side curtain. But if you are at all, I'm not a professional dashcam installer or anything, but if you are at all worried, this is just the way I've done it. I'm not saying it's the absolute, totally recommended way of doing it. So, like I say, we've got it through now, the rods into the rear passenger compartment. We're now going to tape on the cable to pull it backwards through, ready to slide it through the rubber boot up to the position of the rear dash cam. Okay, and one more thing, I did do this, all the filming and installed on my own, so most of it I was trying to do one-handed while I held the camera with the other, but for certain things I do have to put the camera down to use 2 hands, so if something isn't quite in shot that I'm talking about, that's the reason why. Also, you know, there is a lot of camera movement. The stabilizer is on the camera, but just the process of trying to do it and move it around, it does give a bit of a shaky cam thing. So like I said, let's tape the cable on now and then pull it back through, ready to go to the rear cam. So instead of trying to tape this to there, which would make it a wee bit wider, see there, or taping it there, which make it extremely wide, the thinnest way I could find was, instead of trying to tape it end to end like that, which it'd just probably it'd come off. So I thought I'll put that on there like that and tape it round there. So that's the method I'm going to use, just using this small extension piece. So you can see we've got it through to here, the rod, and that little bit just showing you is now screwed into the end of that and taped on there, and this is the end of the cable that goes on the rear dash cam. So I'm now going to pull it backwards. We're into the sort of driver's compartment now, so getting it from here down there should be relatively easy. So I'm going to pull this back gently now. So I'm just pulling this out now. If it snags on something, obviously try make sure it's clear of everything. Don't just pull. I'm going to put the camera down now. So as I was pulling this through, I did have something, it seemed to be jamming up on something in, you know, round here or whatever, and I couldn't pull it through, so I unscrewed this bit here and just shoved it through using both hands from the back door recess, and it's easy enough to push this through here just with your hand. So what I suggest is push that just through there and then screw it on once you're in this rear door recess, It just saves pulling the whole thing through here and here and everything. You're pulling it through the minimum amount with it all assembled. So okay, so it's screwed on now, but I anticipate I might have a bit of trouble pulling that bit, that wider bit, through sort of around about this area here, because it does seem quite tight round there, or maybe even there. So I'll put the camera down and do my best. Okay, so as you can see, it pulled through reasonably okay. I was surprised it didn't snag on anything, but because before one of these brass bits was snagging inside. So that's through there now, and you can see I can easily pull it. So I'm going to pull enough slack through here now, because obviously this is going to go sort of back inside there, up this rubber, through under here. I'll show you taking these out soon, and this pops out dead easy, and then the wires are going to sort of probably come out one of these, I haven't decided yet, and probably mount there, but that's the route that's going to take. So I'm going to do that, get enough slack through, and then we'll carry on at the front. Okay, so these just pop out. You don't even need any tools to get these out. Just pull forward like that, and there's like a little lip that goes around the metal, and the same with these. There's no plastic clips on these, they're just all rubber. So you can see there's like a lip there that goes around it, and this one, it's got body written there at the bottom. You just pull it forward, you can see a lip. So we're not going to have to get this cable through up here, up the hole, hopefully have enough room, guide it through here. Actually, I think I'm going to put the camera here, because it'll go straight up there, the cable. There's no room behind this lip for your cable, so I'd have to sort of like bring it sort of sideways here to mount, and ideally the middle would be best. It'd be quite a sort of an extra bit more wire exposed up there, but we'll see. So I've just taped a bit of stiff electrical wire to here to pull it through the hole. We've not got it up through the rubber yet, but this is just to pull this cable back through here and out of this hole. So again, I'm going to need both hands to do that, so I'll show you that shortly. Okay, so you can see that went easy enough. You could probably just do it by pushing the wire through itself, this cable through itself, but it was easy. That bit of stiff wire on, and I'll also need that for shoving through here. So what I'm going to do now, again, I'm going to need both hands, because I'm going to have to sort of get this into as straight a line as I can, and then I'm going to push the wire, which I've still got taped to the end, through here and up, hopefully to come out from behind here. I'm gonna grease this bit here, the tape there and the plug, and I'm just going to grease it with some silicone lubricant, and it'll just help it slide through here a bit. I'm also going to spray in some GT85, which is PTFE based, and again, like I saw on one of the another video, guy used WD-40, and he's a professional that fits dash cams for a living, and he's never had any trouble with any of this rubber rotting. So I'm going to use this GT85, because as it says there, it's got PTFE in it. I love this stuff more than WD, so I'm just going to spray some down here, just make it a bit easier for it to get through. There's just the one cable going through here, and it's like a braided, it's quite a rough, it's just like cloth braid, but hopefully there should be enough room for that cable as well. So we can see we've got the wire through this end, and we're just about to pull it through. So as you can see, I've greased up that end. Again, two-handed job I'm afraid, so I can't show you me doing it, and hopefully it'll pull through okay. Okay, so it didn't pull through. The wire, as you saw, was through, but as soon as I pulled the wire, it is quite a tight fit in there. It just came untaped. So change of plan this time. I've wrapped the wire round the cable like that. So hopefully that should grip a bit more. I'm going to cover that with tape and then again and grease it up again and then try pulling that through. Let's have attempt number 2. Okay, so as you can see, the second attempt worked fine. When it wrapped round the cable like that, it's the actual spiral that's gripping it and pulling it. But I just covered it in tape, just so there wasn't any ends sort of snagging on it. And as you can see, it has now gone up through there, through there. It's just a matter of shoving it up now through here to come out there. So might have a go at doing that live with one hand. Oh, there you go. Let's look, it came through. And then just pull it up along. I'm just going to structure around now with the camera without holding the camera. It's just a matter of trying to clear that lug that's holding the spoiler on. So yeah, you can see it's through now, and it did go through. All I did manage to get it past that nut, but just be careful as you're sort of thrutching it around here that you don't damage the plug underneath here. So yeah, plenty of room there now. I've decided I'm going to put the camera there. It's not quite in the middle, there is really wide view, so I'm going to put it there. Once I turn it on, if the view isn't great, I'll have enough play to put it somewhere else. So that's that bit. I'm going to obviously cut a hole in one of these and seal it around when I finish. So, like I said, I've pulled absolutely plenty through, taken the wire off, left a bit of white on just to protect the USB end for now. I suggest you sort of pull plenty through here because you can lose it dead easily in here. So once you finish the job, you can push that down inside the door and that'll be okay. So I'm just going to pop these 2 back and this one above, and then we'll carry on again from the front. And again here you can see we've got plenty of slack. If you are worried about the curtain airbags, you can see it there. Like I said, that guy, there's another YouTube channel, a guy who fits dash cams and for a living, and he says that there's no way a bit of wire is going to get in the way of an airbag. And when you see one go off, the way it blasts through the plastic and blows panels off, I totally agree. So if it worries you at all, don't do it, or get a professional to fit it, or try and go via the ground or whatever. But again, I've left plenty of slack here. That's just going to be tucked behind there. If that airbag goes off, it's easily going to blow that wire out of the way. We've got it through to here so far. So again, we're going to do the same here, tuck it under, leaving as much slack as we can. And then we'll catch up in a minute once I've got it to here. Okay, so the only sort of slightly tricky bit there, as you saw, was actually pulling it through the rubber gaiter, because there is, in with it greased up, because the other wire is in there is a bit of resistance. So if you wrap the stiff wire round the cable, it shouldn't pull off. So we've got the cable through now to the sort of driver's door compartment position. So we've got to run it along the roof, but I'm going to show you here now how to take the front panel, the front A-pillar panel off, which we've got to do for that to get it in the side, and obviously we're going to need that to run the power down for the cameras. Now, this is probably the trickiest bit. As you'll see, you don't need any tools. You don't even need that thing we used to take the side panel off, to take the A-pillar out. No tools required whatsoever, but it is tricky. I won't go into detail here because it's fully detailed in the video, how the top clip is held on. Now, this part of the video I had filmed and then realised I'd left my little radio mic in the boot of the car instead of pinning it to my t-shirt. So I had to film it, I've had to overdub it with the mic here. So if you hear a bit of discrepancy in the sound, that's what it is. But let's carry on now, taking that pillar off and running the cable along to its final position. So first of all, you've got to remove the door seal, and it just pulls off the normal way, same as the rear one did. And once you've got that off, there is a gap there between the hard plastic and the metalwork, and you can get your fingers in. Now there are two clips. The awkward one is up here. It's a spring metal clip, and it squishes down as it goes through the slot, and that is mounted in there. And there's another one further down, about here, but it's this one here that is the awkward one, because it goes in, the top and the bottom go in on elongated slots, but that clip itself doesn't fully come out of the car. It stays in like the metalwork of the car, as you'll see shortly, because there's sort of like a barb on the end, and you've got to take it out of its plastic clip. I've got it set now on manual settings, the camera, hence the outside is overexposed. It's just so you can see this bit clearly, otherwise it was too dark. This is the only angle I can think of to film this, to show you pulling this side panel off. So once you've got that rubber trim loose, you just put your fingers in there, in the gap, and just give it a good tug. So, there you go. It pops out there at the top. And this is the awkward clip, this top one. The easy clip is about there. Has totally come out of the groove in the side of the steel bodywork. But I'll disconnect the camera from here now, and I'll show you what I mean close up. So you can see that is the lower one. That is totally out of its slot in the car. But the top one there, it's still held in its slot because it's got like barbs on the back of that bit. Once it's gone through the slot, there is these little sort of like barbs that spring out and keep it in the slot for some reason. I don't know why it's like that. It seems a crazy idea, but you can't get that clip out. It's you can get one sort of side out, but not the other. So what you have to do is slide it out of the plastic, that black plastic block that is holding it. So the whole clip will slide that way. You can see it just about going now. And once it's slid out of that plastic housing, there's nothing keeping that A-pillar panel on. So just push that way. Again, really, there, so you can see me pushed it, and that's now come out of the clip. And that is totally removable now, that panel. And that just pulls off dead easy. There's no other clips down there. And the middle clip there, that's still in its plastic clip. Why the other one couldn't have been like that, I don't know. But like I say, it has got some barbs. You can see that's one of the barbs. It's come out halfway. One of the barbs has come out, but the other one can't. I'd have to squeeze them with pin nose pliers to enable me to remove it. Now maybe I could have done, but anyway, that's the way it is. So we've removed that front A-pillar there, and it's a matter now, once you've got your cable sort of dangling down here, of just tucking it behind the roof lining. Again, you can have a look where your airbags, your curtain airbags are. You can see one there, and there's loads of slack. You can put it that side of it or this side of it. I've tried to put it up there because I can see the way the airbag will come down. It'll come down there. But as you can appreciate, this stuff is pretty thick. It's like a sort of fiberglass weave there, the roof lining, and then a foam, then another foam on it. And that is pretty tough. So if it can blast that out of the way, it can blast a wire, particularly as we've got loads of slack in that wire, lost in the boot as we did earlier. So just sort of tuck the cable along however you want here. Okay, so we've got the cable to here. Remember, this is the one to the rear dash cam, which plugs in the front dash cam, which is going to go here. So on this one, it's just a matter of tucking it behind the roof lining here at the front and having it dangle out there. Again, you've got to lose a lot of wire, so there's going to be a lot of slack, and that'll just push back here under the roof lining. So there's not much I can film showing you that. Like I say, it's quite sort of like, there's loads of play in it here, you can see, and it'll just run there. So we'll get that done now. Okay, as you probably saw there in that little caption, my idea was, just like on the ZS, to hide all the spare cable, and there is a lot of spare cable, as you'll see very shortly, at the front, behind the roof lining at the front. With the ZS, I could. There was tons of room under there. Even though it had a glass sunroof, there was more space under the lining than there is in this. But it was so tight, again, as you'll see soon, with the lining touching the metalwork of the roof of the car, there was nowhere to lose that cable, so we had to do it at the back. So, like I said, I've left these mistakes in, one or two as I go along, just so you can learn from them and not make the same mistake. So this is where I discovered there's not quite enough room to put all that cable, and then like I said, how much that cable is in length through there. Like I said, I don't know why they make it so long. You could put this in a massive long wheelbase van, I suppose, but no need for that amount in a normal saloon car. Okay, so change of plan again. I'll probably leave these mistakes in instead of editing them out, so that you're learning from my mistakes as I go along. My plan was to have loads of slack here. This cable is really, really long. It'd go right down the end of the biggest estate car you can imagine. Nearly a bus. I'm sure they don't need to make it that long, but I suppose too long is better than too short. But that means you've got loads of waste cable to get rid of. Now, I was hoping that in the ZS there was loads of room behind here, and I could tuck it up and sort of zigzag it all under the roof lining here. But there isn't on this. It's very, very tight. Once you move the blind out, that is right up against the metal of the roof, and there isn't any gap. There might have been behind here, this centre console, but I didn't really want to take that out if I didn't need to. But there was nowhere behind here that I could find to waste all this slack. So what I've done now is I've got it just long enough to reach, that's the front dash cam that the rear one plugs into. So I've got it just long enough to reach there with just this tiny bit tucked behind the front. And then the vast bulk of it I've pulled right through here, the aforementioned thing, and you can see how much of it I've got to get rid of. That is how much cable they give to the rear dash. So I've got all that now to lose in here, and I hope I'll be able to do that. So again, I'm going to shove it inside here, maybe take that one out again and zigzag it backwards and forwards, and see how we go. Yeah, just thought I'd actually show you this because this is much, much easier. So as you can see, all that length I've just shown you, all that is easily being shoved inside this rear, and a bit that way. Don't think you should hear any of this rattling around when we're on the move, but if we are, I can soon sort that by wrapping it in foam or something. But as you can see, it's dead easy to lose all your cable in here. And that's the end of it there now. So what must have been about 3 meters or so of cable in there, I think. So yeah, inside the rear door is the place to lose your slack cable. So I'm just going to wrap a bit of, because the hole in here had to be big to get that end through. It's a bit loose coming there, just to stop any water of any sort getting around it. I'm just going to wrap a piece of self-amalgamating rubber tape around it just to widen up the cable there. So we'll just do that now, and then we'll stick the rear dash cam on. Okay, so I've got some IPA on here, isopropyl alcohol, just clean. I'll get rid of any grease. Be careful you don't stick it on here as well, the heated rear window. And just in case you're wondering, the heated rear window, yes, does stop, the heating elements stop here. A lot of people say, oh, the bottom of my screen isn't getting demisted. Well, this bit here is the aerial for the radio. Now, I'm not sure whether it's the FM aerial or the DAB aerial. I suspect the FM aerial, but I don't know where the DAB aerial is on this. On the ZS, it was sticking out the top of the roof of the car, like a flexible thing. But I can't see a visible sign of one on this. But so we've got that cleaned up now. We've got some fresh VHB tape on here. Okay, so we've got the backing off the tape now, and we'll just place that. I'm going to shove this in here like that, and that is a separate base on there. That is pretty solid now. It just clips on like that. Okay, so that's on now. It just actually slides on like that onto that base plate. Like that. And again, it's a bit hard to see, but that self-amalgamating rubber, you just hold it with your hand, and the heat from your hand does what it says, self-amalgamates it, sets it into like a solid rubber bung. You would have to cut that off there now with a knife to get it off. It won't peel off like normal tape. And that is an absolute solid coming out there. There's no air gaps around it. So that is the rear camera in. Let's carry on now, getting that cable down for the power for the front camera. So yeah, it's definitely trickier, this bit, the boot bit, the rear hatch, than the doors. You've got to make sure you get it right down against the paintwork there, the metalwork there, so you don't get any water running underneath. There's like a lip inside that goes over the outside of the thing, and then just push it firmly back. As you can see, I've got bits of glue on the rubber and the roof lining, but I'm going to give it a wipe now, and you hopefully in a second should see the difference once I've given it a wipe with isopropyl alcohol. So that's the rear dashcam wire installed. We've just got to run now the power supply up to the main camera, and this is the bit that involves using that tool behind me to take the side panel off the dash. I do say it again in this video, so I won't keep repeating it too much, but yeah, it's a crazy idea by MG. Why they couldn't have made a more accessible hatch, I don't know. But let's carry on now with removing that hatch to gain access to the fuse box. So, as I demonstrated in the pedestrian warning sound alert video, if you haven't seen that, check out the card above. But I did show you taking this panel off, and this is how you get at the crazy fuse box position in the MG4. Instead of it being a separate accessible flap like here with just fuse written on it and a little catch and it being in there, no, you've got to take it off, this, swing it forward the side panel using panel removal tools, and this was the one I found the best. So if you position this about sort of halfway up, and it's this side panel that swings that way. It's not this front panel that comes off. That will come off. Put that in the gap there and just sort of like squeeze it forward a bit. Pull it best that way. And then just pop it out there and there and there, and that just panel just comes off. And there is the fuse box behind, and no, I'm not going to be able to get enough access through here. I'm going to need a bit more access, so I'm going to have to get this front panel off. So it's looking like these screws here, so let's have a go at that now. I'll take them screws out and then we'll see what it does. These two, I'll push it back. Take these two screws out here, this one and that one, and then you've got to sort of lever this panel forward there and there, sort of like off its little clips. And then if you grab this, you can pull it forward. This catches under here. And once you've sort of like pulled this front bit, there's another catch there. These with the white plastic on the top, they just go into slots. Pull that forward, and then you can sort of pull this panel right out. If you wanted to take this whole panel off, there's got to be other screws and things, studs to remove there. So I'm hoping I'll have enough room without taking this off, but I may very well have to. Not whether you can see it, but at the tip of where my finger is, there is a screw. I can see a self-tapper there that's going through from underneath. So you can feel around for that. It's there, the screwdriver is in it now, so it's just behind that thing that looks like a speaker, which probably is a speaker. So I'm going to take that screw out now. Okay, so as you saw there, not too bad getting that panel off. It does come out straightforward, but a needless thing to do if I'd have designed the fuse box, that's for sure. So we've got the side panel off now. We've got the A-pillar out. We've got the front panel sort of dangling forward. As I've shown there, the two screws underneath, the one I forgot to film on the left, you'll feel it dead easy. And if you take them two screws out, it gives that front panel a bit more forward movement because it's not connected to the underneath tray. And you can still get plenty of access to it without totally removing it. To totally remove it, there was that other little round stud with like a stud in the middle. And I couldn't quite work out how to do that. It's I couldn't get that centre pin to pull out. But you've no need to take that front panel totally off. Them two screws underneath will give you enough access. So we've got all that dangling now, ready to do the wiring. And the next bit is to shove a piece of stiff wire down from the top to terminate under the dash so that we can pull up, attach it to the power cable for the camera and pull it up there to go along to the camera. So let's do that now. Okay, so we've got to get the wire up, obviously, up here. And I'm going to sort of follow this cable here and then come round to here. And obviously that's where the dash cam's going to go. So it's going to tuck under there like it did from the rear one, just along this lip here, and then go either on the top or below this. I'll track the best way in a minute, and then go down there. So I've shoved a wire down there. There's not enough, it's too steep an angle to get the fiberglass rods in. So if you use a stiff wire like this, and if you put that down there, when you put your fingers down here, you'll feel this cloth, this sort of underfelt type cloth here. You can probably just see it, I don't know, through there. But if you put your wire between the dash here and that cloth, if you put it the other side of that cloth next to the metal, you'll be sort of like disappearing behind the carpet. So if you put it there, that side, you can just about see it, I think, between there and the plastic, and that it just shoves down dead easy and just comes out here. So obviously this is the end that plugs into the dash cam. So I've tied it on low down here. I've wrapped that stiff wire around the cable, and I'm going to put a bit of electrical tape around here just to protect this USB end as we're pulling it up. And there feels to be enough room up there to pull it reasonably easy, so I'm going to wrap that now, and then I'll try and film myself pulling it up. So you can see they're taped to the wire, on the other end of the wire, so let's pull it through. See it moving there. And as we pull it up, it comes through pretty easy. So that's right through that cable now, and it's just a matter of tucking it along, like I said, behind this one, and along to the position of the dash cam, and then losing the rest of the wiring behind here. So again, I can't, that's going to be a two-handed job putting that along there. I can't film me doing it, but once it's in place I shall show you what it looks like. Okay, you can see the cable is in there now. It's tucked behind the other one, and I've wrapped it with these tie wraps. I'm going to cut the end off them now, and then we'll have a go at putting this panel back. These are the worst bits I find, getting these sort of panels off and on. Once we get this back, I'm hoping it's all pretty much downhill then. So yes, you will be pleased to hear it is all downhill from there, and that is probably the trickiest bit, putting that A-pillar back on, as we'll see shortly. But once that's on, yeah, the rest of it is it's pretty easy. So let's go ahead and do that now. So if you remember from before, obviously we've just got that bit there, that sort of air duct thing out of here, that goes over there. And again, that stub doesn't go in any slot, it just butt joins up against the metal there. And there's only two more catches once that's located in the front, and now I've got this side panel off completely. It'll be easier to go around there, you don't have to shove it behind the side panel. But the only other two catches that hold it on are this one, which goes in that slot there, and that just pushes in like a normal tab. But it's this one that's the tricky one. If you'd prefer to squeeze them barbs shut and just have it mounted in its block, it probably just would them out as well. But like I said, that's the bit of the panel it goes into, but it slides in that groove there. That white padding, by the way, is not an air curtain or anything, it's just sound insulation. That clip there, just showed you that, just butt joins up against the white. There's no slot, it's not a metal clip or anything. The two clips I showed you are the only clips holding it on. So it's got into solid now, and you can see it's now a matter of trying to line that clip up into its block, into that slot in the block that I just showed you. So again, try to do this one-handed. So just put the clip in that slot, push it back in, and then you can push it up. That one's no problem, that just goes up. You can see that'll just go in its slot, no problem. But I'll just put the camera down now and I'll show it you just engaged in that clip. You can see there's nothing holding it at the moment. So you can see the clip is just in that block. Now push that back, that should fully engage in that plastic block. And like I say, it can move forward because it's in its slot. So you can see now the clip, I've pushed it fully forward into that plastic block that holds it, and now it's fully forward. You can see it's properly retained, yet it's in its slot, which comes up there. When we push it in, it will sort of squeeze up along with the one down there and grip it. So it's just a matter now of checking it's still in place at the front. You can see all the gap lines look great, and then it's just a matter of knocking this into place, and that's it. So that's back in place now. Check all these sort of panel gaps look the same as they did. You can see they do. Get rid of any bits of muck or grease after, and then it's just a matter of pushing the door rubber back in place, which is an easy job. So I'll get all that straightened up now. So got the door trim, the door rubber seal back on. Make sure that it's fully pushed up and looks as it did before, which it does. We've still got this side trim off, and we're ready to carry on, connect all the cables up. But that's how that comes back on and comes off and goes back on. So the panel is all on now. You can see it's a nice fit. All the trim is up to it as it should be, and the two wires are in for the front and the rear dash cam. And now it's just a matter of wiring it up in here. I've got the front lead in as well now, and there's a big sort of magnetic coil thing on the cable of mine, and yeah, I'll show you. There, that, and there is enough room to hide that without this bulging down, so you can get both cables behind there, no problem. That goes in there, and then you can tidy them up later. The rest of the wiring just clips on it, so I'll put that in place now and then show you once it's in place. This illuminates green, by the way. Okay, so that's the hard bit done, all the taking off and removing and putting back panels and things, apart from the ones low down that we've got to put back after the wiring. So I'm going to wrap this video up here because it's nearly an hour long. And in the next video, I'll be going into in great detail again. So that's going to be about another hour-long video. So prepare yourself. But again, there's a little line. You can skip the bits you do want and bits you don't want. Boring bits, no problem at all. But in that video, I'll be going into great detail on the wiring of it. What various fuses you can get in cars, all the different sizes. The two we'll be using in the MG4 are the Micro 3, which has got 3 prongs, and the Micro 2. I'll explain the difference between the two. I'll explain where to put the actual original fuse you've taken out for the car, and where to put the fuse for your dash cam, and on this one, which way round to put it, which is important on the 2-pin one. So again, into great detail on that. Any links in this video to any Amazon stuff will be an affiliated link. If you do click on that and buy something from that browsing session, I get a small commission, just a few pennies for whatever you've bought. Helps keep the channel going. So if you haven't subscribed, please click the little picture of the shed here. Click part 2. I'll put a link to up here to get into the wiring bit. I'm going to upload both these videos together, so there's no waiting days from part 1 to part 2. and so they should hopefully both be online at the same time. I'm hoping to catch you for part 2 if you want to carry on, and thanks for watching this. Bye for now.